1. If we had chosen to call her, it would have been less of a hassle than sending an email. 2. I think the entire task wouldn't have been worth it. 3. I've already experienced many frustrations with this business. 4. I should have returned it to the store, but I didn't think the annoyance would have been worth it. 5. I don't think the annoyance would have been justified. 6. Do as you were told without giving any hassle. 7. He started once again with that entire hassle of boosting productivity. 8. We've encountered numerous legal hassles when trying to claim compensation. 9. If we had taken that route, we would have had an easier journey. 10. Could I have carried over this balance to next month's budget? 11. Where did this balance originate? It would have been carried forward from the previous page. 12. I believe we could have transferred this loss or credit to the next tax year. 13. I had some money in an account that I had set aside for my children. 14. Could you have set aside about 30 minutes to have a conversation with her? 15. We would have had to set aside our differences and start cooperating. 16. As I mentioned earlier, we should have awaited more information before making any changes. 17. He would have embezzled $150,000 from public funds. 18. The police would have been investigating the embezzlement of $400 million. 19. You should have allowed for some delays before scheduling a date. 20. We might have encountered setbacks, and we should have always been prepared for that. 21. They would have managed to get away with equipment worth 30,000 Brazilian reals. 22. If you had ever thought of cheating, you would never have gotten away with it. 23. If we had been more proactive, we wouldn't have been overwhelmed. 24. Had I known about the complications earlier, I wouldn't have gone off topic during the meeting. 25. If the team had stayed on the ball, we wouldn't have gotten lost in the weeds of irrelevant details. 26. If we had managed the project more effectively, we wouldn't have needed to fire off so many last-minute emails. 27. Had I been able to hop on a call with you, I wouldn't have pinged you so many times. 28. If we had initiated a thorough briefing, we wouldn't have encountered so many challenges during the execution. 29. If we had successfully kept everyone in the loop, we wouldn't have found ourselves in the weeds of miscommunication. 30. Had we picked your brain earlier, we wouldn't have struggled with the project's complexities. 31. If the team had been more focused, we wouldn't have gone off topic and gotten lost in the weeds of irrelevant discussions. 32. If we had coordinated better, we wouldn't have been caught in the weeds of confusion. 33. If I had been more aware of the details, I wouldn't have gone off topic during the presentation. 34. Had the team been more organized, we wouldn't have been consumed by the overwhelming workload. 35. If we had been more thorough in our debrief, we wouldn't have encountered these unexpected setbacks. 36. If we had kept everyone in the loop from the start, we wouldn't have struggled with getting lost in the weeds. 37. Had I known about the upcoming changes, I wouldn't have fired off so many emails to keep me in the loop. 38. If we had focused on the main goals, we wouldn't have found ourselves lost in the weeds of irrelevant details. 39. If the team had been more alert, we wouldn't have gone off topic during the important meeting. 40. If we had been on the ball, we wouldn't have encountered so many challenges along the way. 41. Had we been more prepared, we wouldn't have been caught in the weeds of confusion. 42. If I had received timely updates, I wouldn't have needed to ping you repeatedly for information. 43. If I had tried several times already, I would have found the solution by now. 44. If we had exercised a little bit of patience, we wouldn't have been so frustrated. 45. As a rule of thumb, I always try 3 or 4 times before giving up. 46. If I had moved on, I wouldn't have wasted so much time on a dead-end project. 47. If you had gotten the knack, things would have gone more smoothly. 48. If you had caught the knack, things would have flowed more quickly. 49. If I had made a point of teaching you, you would have learned more efficiently. 50. If I had made a point of checking everything myself, we wouldn't have missed those errors. 51. If I had had a financial issue to discuss, I would have reached out to you. 52. By the time you catch up, we'll be ready to start the meeting. 53. What do you think of dropping by the office to catch up? 54. As a rule of thumb, I always call my acquaintances before visiting them. 55. I like to let them know in advance rather than showing up out of the blue. 56. It all boils down to making yourself acquainted with the rules. 57. I didn't know what had happened. I just saw that everything was a mess. 58. I changed quite a bit, for instance, my perspective on the world. 59. She might have misunderstood what you meant by that statement. 60. If you had explained it to her, she wouldn't have misunderstood. 61. I didn't know what had happened. I just saw that everything was a mess. 62. I used to be a night owl, but over time, I've changed. 63. Over time, I started feeling more comfortable staying up late. 64. Over time, I changed my interests and became more focused. 65. I liked video games a lot, but over time, I've lost interest. 66. As time went on, I realized that I needed exercise. 67. I used to be into video games, but over time, I've changed. 68. I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. 69. Over time, you'll get the hang of it. 70. I'm not as into it as I used to be. 71. As time goes by, you'll get the hang of it. 72. In a nutshell, I had a great time. 73. On Friday nights, I like to hang out with my friends. 74. I thought she would understand. 75. She changed her mind and didn't tell me anything. 76. She keeps changing her mind all the time. 77. How long have you been out of the country? 78. How's the project coming along? 79. Where have you been? Everyone has been looking for you. 80. I don't have time for lunch today. I'll grab a bite to eat. 81. Is there anything we can do? 82. I didn't know what had happened. I just saw that everything was a mess. 83. Before visiting an acquaintance of mine, as a rule of thumb, I always call to let them know I'm coming. 84. I prefer not to show up out of the blue. I like to call in advance. 85. It all comes down to making yourself acquainted with the details. 86. You can't believe everything. Take it with a grain of salt. 87. You might end up getting yourself into trouble. 88. She was trying to butter up her father to borrow his car. 89. Rain or shine, I always listen to English for 5 minutes every day. 90. She seems a bit naive to me. 91. This situation has been dragging on for days. 92. Piggyback on what you said, I think we need to organize the office. 93. I'm looking for a job that fulfills me. 94. If I had known the recipe, I would have prepared dinner already. 95. As a rule of thumb, I always give myself a little bit of extra time to get to appointments. 96. If you had caught the knack for public speaking, you would have been a great presenter. 97. I believe it all comes down to having a positive attitude in challenging situations. 98. If she had gotten the knack for coding earlier, she might have progressed more quickly. 99. If you had made a point of studying regularly, you would have performed better in the exam. 100. I didn't want to get lost in the weeds of the details, so I focused on the main points.